Statistics and Excel. Correlation baseball statistics part number 2. Get ready, taking a deep breath, holding it in for 10 seconds, looking forward to a smooth, soothing Excel. First, a word from our sponsor. Yeah, actually, we're sponsoring ourselves on this one because apparently the merchandisers, they don't want to be seen with us. But that's okay, whatever. Because our merchandise is better than their stupid stuff anyways. Like our crunching numbers is my cardio product line. Now, I'm not saying that subscribing to this channel, crunching numbers with us, will make you thin, fit, and healthy or anything. However, it does seem like it worked for her. Just saying. So, subscribe, hit the bell thing, and buy some merchandise so you can make the world a better place by sharing your accounting instruction exercise routine. If you would like a commercial-free experience, consider subscribing to our website at accountinginstruction.com or accountinginstruction.thinkific.com. Here we are in Excel. If you don't have access to this workbook, that's okay because we basically built this from a blank worksheet, but we started in a prior presentation. So if you're using a blank worksheet, you may want to begin back there. If you do have access to this workbook, we got 4 tabs currently down below: the example tab, the practice tab, the blank data tab, and the blank tab. The example, in essence, answer key, practice tab having pre-formatted cells so you can get to the heart of the practice problem. The blank tabs representing the blank worksheets that we started with and will be continuing on with at this point in time. So the first thing we did, quick recap of what we did last time, is pick up our data, and we put that into a separate tab, which we're going to be calling the data tab. I'm going to rename it, not the date tab. I'm going to say it should be data tab. And we pulled our information from an online resource this time. I'm not advertising for them or anything, but it's the baseball reference that we pulled our data from, not the team data, but the player's standing data. And we have our batting data down below, which we then transformed to a comma delimited data. We copied all this and pasted it into our Excel worksheet, converting from a CSV file to a data file. And then we picked up the batting averages and the age, pulled that over to our blank tab to see if there was a correlation between the age of the people playing and their batting average, meaning how often they get on base. We made some adjustments to the data that we thought would be relevant for our correlation, and we saw there's a relatively low correlation according to our calculations for those two. So now we're going to say, well, let's do another one and see if we can get a higher correlation between some different data sets. So let's go back to the first one. This time we're going to be looking at that batting average again, but instead of the age, we're going to be looking at the RBI. So the RBI, which you would think there would be more of a correlation because the batting average represents how often they get on base versus the RBI, which is the runs batted in. So getting a hit basically and getting a run due to that is basically the RBI. So let's copy these two. I'll copy these two and the name. I'm holding down Control and selecting these non-adjacent cells. I'm going to copy those 3 and bring it on over to our blank tab over here. Let's put that in AB. Right click and then paste it. I think I can paste it just normal. All right, so there we have it. Now, I would kind of like to have the batting average on the left because when I start to do my correlations, I'm usually thinking about the batting average as the independent factor generally. That's my hypothesis in any case. And when I make my scatter plots, it's easier if it's on the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select column AC. I'm going to say Control X or right click and cut, and put that over here in AE, Control V, paste it, and then I'm going to delete this column because I don't need it anymore. Selecting AC column, right click and delete it. I don't need the AC anymore because it's not so hot in here anymore because it's the AC like that cools out. That's the air conditioning. Anyway, so then I'm going to say, all right, let's go ahead and insert a table in here by going into the Insert tab, tables. Let's insert a table, and we're going to say, okay, dancing ants doing their table dance that creates the actual table, magic table dance they do. And then let's do our sorting of the batting averages again. I'm going to go from Z to A, and then all Z 0, all Z, let's go from actually Z to A. And last time we deleted the 0.75 because that looked to be outside the range on the high end for the batting average, because it would be likely that that if they had a lot of at-bats, that would be over what you would expect. So I'm going to delete that. So maybe they didn't have that many at-bats. So I'm going to say that looks suspect. I'm going to remove it from my table and say remove that row. And then I'm going to say Control Shift down. Let's go to the bottom of this thing, and I'm going to remove all of the 0 data as well. So we're going to say, all right, so everything that's 0 down here, I want to remove that data because there's nothing in there, and the blank data that we missed last time when we first started. I'm going to remove all of those things. You're out of here. Go back to the minors. Go back to the minors. Oh, that's cold. That's mean. That's how it is here in the major league table rows. You can't hack it. Get out. Just remove yourself. All right. Let's go back up top. And then the RBIs. So if I sort the RBIs, so I have some zeros on the RBIs, but I think I'm okay with that. And then if I go from Z, there's no blank cells. So Z to A. So I think I'm okay with that. All right. I think I'm okay with that. So let's make a skinny AA here. And let's make this one a little bit larger so we can see people's names just for the fun of it. And then let's do our standard calculation, which again, we can do with our eyes closed. We've done it so many times. If some jerk tied our eyelashes to our nose hair so we couldn't either see and our eyes would be watering, we could still do this. RBI and the BA. Let's do our header thing. Home tab, font group, making this black, white, center. And we're going to say this is going to be the mean, standard D. Let's do our batting average equals the average tab of the BA data. Control Shift down and enter. Decimalizing it, home tab. Number group, giving it some decimals. There's our average, pulling it to the right for the RBI. And there's our RBI, which is picking up the average of the RBI data. Let's go ahead then and say we want the standard D. So this is going to be equal to the standard deviation for the sample, picking that up. And we'll say Control Shift down and enter. And we're going to say, okay, home tab number, decimalizing it. Let's pick up 3 and let's pull that to the right so we get the standard D for both of those as well. Okay, and so then we're going to say, let's go ahead and pick up the same data and do our Z-score calculation and our correlation calculation. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it over here. You could just paste it. Oh, by the way, let's actually do some charts of these two. So if I select this data for the BA, Control backspace, and I just insert a histogram just to see what it looks like from a pictorial histogram standpoint. We could say, all right, there it is. That's the batting average. So it looks kind of bell-shape-ish. It's centered in the middle, kind of tapers out. Batting average. And we saw that last time. Let's do the same thing with, oh my goodness. What did you do? Okay, that was scary. I don't know what happened. I thought the computer was came alive, AI, and it was gonna do something. Now we're gonna say RBI, Control Shift down, Control backspace, and then insert histogram, and we'll make a table of that one. And that looks a lot different, interesting, on the RBIs. Now notice the RBIs are a little bit interesting stat when you compare them to the batting average, because the batting average is a ratio type of stat, where the RBI is an absolute number kind of stat. So it's going to be impacted by, the number of at-bats and whatnot could have an impact on that number, you would think. So RBI, but we'll keep it rolling here. We'll say RBI. So it might also be useful, in other words, to kind of compare the RBIs to the number of at-bats, right? And whatnot. But in any case, so there we have that. All right, so now let's make this a header column over here. Home tab, font group, black, white. Let's insert a column here. I'll copy my formula over so we could see what we're doing. We're doing our correlation calculation. And so we're going to be doing the z-scores, multiplying the numerators together. We need to do the z's for all of the x's and y's, or the BAs and the RBIs. So we'll insert a column, and I'm going to say this is going to be the z for the BA, and calculating this again equals brackets this, each point minus the mean, F4 on the keyboard, making it absolute so we can copy it down, $ before the letter, the number, closing it up, dividing it by the standard D. F4 on the keyboard, $ before the letter, the number, and enter. Then we can click on here. It's in the general formatting. Let's make all of this number formatting. Is this general too? Let's make all of this number formatting. I'm going to scroll out and let's format this. Go into the formatting. Let's make the default number and negative numbers bracketed. And let's make like 3 decimals seems to be the standard. So let's do that. And then insert the RBIs though. I don't need any decimals over here. So I'm going to select all of this and remove the decimals on the RBIs because that's just a count. And then let's just drop this down for this Z. So I'm going to say drop it down. Okay. And then we're going to say, let's do it over here. This is going to be the Z of the RBI. I'll format paint the title, header, home tab, clipboard, format paint it, and then calculate the Z equals brackets, the data minus the mean, F4 on the keyboard, $ before the letter, number, closing it up, dividing it by the standard D, F4, $ before the letter, number, enter, and then let's double click on it. This also is a number formatting. Oh, it is, that's right. Let's double click on it and drop it down. All right, so then we're just gonna multiply these top two. We're gonna multiply them together. So now I'm gonna say this is gonna be the Z of BA times the Z of RBI. Let's format that by going to the Home tab, font group, black, white, alignment, center, alignment, wrap. I forgot the white. Multiplying it together, this is going to be equal to the Z of the BA times the Z of the RBI. Enter. Double click to drop it down. Let's make, these should all be center. Home tab, alignment, center. I'm going to select all of this stuff up top, skinnerize it a little bit, make it skinnierize it. And then now I've got the numerator. I just need to sum up this column, and then we'll have our numerator. So let's make a skinny AO. And this is going to be the correlation. So we'll say this is the R or correlation. And then we'll select this out to here and go Home tab, font, black, white. And then this is going to be the sum of the Z of BA times Z times Z of RBI, tab, summing up the outer column equals the SUM of the outer column. Control Shift down, enter. There's our numerator. Numerator has been done. Let's do a subcalculation for the denominator indicated by n minus 1 and colon, because I'm going to do that in a subcalculation format. N space. Don't help me out, Excel. You're not helping. Less 1 is going to give us the n minus 1. So this is going to be then n is the count of the rows equals the count I can select, I'm going to pick the first one. I'll just count the rows, Control Shift down, enter. There's 823 of them, less 1. And then that's going to give us n minus 1. 823 minus 1 is going to give us 822. And then I can finally divide this out to give us the R correlation, which will be equal to the numerator divided by the denominator, and we get the 0.429. So higher correlation there, as would be expected generally, you would think. Higher than what we got before, right? I mean, so in any case, let's double check. Let's do some formatting first. Let's select these, indent, home tab, alignment, indent, this one, alignment, indent again. Let's put an underline under this one, and we can say font group underline. Let's put an underline under this one, font group underline. I don't really need all the decimals for these cells. Number group, undecimalize, dedecimalize. Oh, that's great. Okay. And then let's do the correlation, double check it with the Excel to see if we did it, see if they get the same thing. Data up top, you need the analysis. If you don't have it, you know where it's at. It's under the home tab. It's under the options group. It's under the add-ins. It's under the manage Excel add-ins. Go into it and then add in the tool pack so we can be part of the cool cats. So we're going to analyze in the data. We want the correlation. Okay. And then we're going to pick up our cells. That's not where it should be. That's the old data set, Excel. You got to get up to date. We're not doing that anymore. We've moved on. We have moved on. You need to get with the program. So we're picking up this data set. Oh, okay, I think I got it still. And then we have the labels and the output. Where do we want to put it? Not there, Excel. Again, you're living in the past. You're living in the past, man. Bring it up to date. We want it over here. All right, so boom. So there it is, and it looks like we do indeed have the same number. Let's add some decimals so we can better recognize. And so there it is. So that looks good. All right, so there's a correlation between those. Let's do a scatter plot between these two data sets and check it out. Control Shift down, Control backspace, scatter plot, insert, charts. Let's check out the scatter plot, if we may. That's an interesting, why does that always happen? I'm trying to move the chart. You know what I'm doing, Excel. You're doing that on purpose. It moves the data set. It's like, dude, Excel, I was on the chart. I was on the chart. I wasn't trying to move the data. So let's add our titles over here, plus button, and then axis titles. I used the x-axis first. Usually this is going to be equal to the BA, which is usually the independent factor, and this one's going to be equal to the RBI by default. Remember that the one on the left will usually be the X, and the other is going to be on the Y. Let's see the correlation. You can see those dots kind of giving a bit of a trend. Let's hit the plus button and look at a trend line in here. Muy interesante. Let's go ahead and options, and we're going to say the trend line, let's make it orange, and solid orange. That's what I like to do. So that's interesting. Now notice that as the batting average goes up, you see that it would go up here, which makes sense. However, if you kind of think about this, you're going to say, well, the batting average could go up. Like they can have a really high batting average, even if they didn't have that many at bats, because if they only went at bat like 5 times and they got a hit like 3 out of 5 times or something, then they're going to have a high average, and the RBI is an absolute number. So they might not have had any runs batted in because they only got at bats 5 times. They have a high bat. So that's why you might see stuff out here like this one. Like you might say, what's happening here? How does this one not have more RBIs with such a high batting average? And you might say, well, maybe they didn't have that many at-bats, right? So you might look at the RBIs, and next you could say, well, let me compare the RBIs to the number of at-bats they've had to try to put that on a percentage basis and do that kind of comparison, or look at a correlation between simply the at-bats and the RBIs, for example. So you can, once you see this, you can kind of start to drill down a little bit more on this. Now, notice, of course, the batting average you would think would probably be the independent factor, which if you had a higher batting average, you got on base more often, that would be driving the RBIs. That's what you would kind of think. So you'd probably plot it this way with the batting average on the X. But let's just practice plotting it the other way, because again, and sometimes that might happen. You'll still get that positive correlation on the trend line, and you could still kind of read the chart, but it's not gonna be the traditional format of it. And we can also just practice flipping these two if they were in the reverse order as they originally were on the original data table. So if I went Control Shift down, Control Backspace, and then insert this again, charts, scatter plot. That's not the right one. This one. And then I'm going to say, all right, let's do this now, but let's flip the X's and Y's so that if I look at my labels, I want the X to actually be the RBI. And then I want this one to be the batting average. Okay, so now let's actually do the flip. So we're going to go to the chart designs, and there's something on my finger. My clicking finger has something on. All right, that's bugging me. Let's go ahead and then edit this data. So I'm going to flip the X. So that X, let's delete that data. And then let's say we're going to now say the RBI is the X. Control Shift down, Control Backspace. Okay. And then on the Y, let's delete that and say equals, and say that's going to be the batting average. Control Shift down, Control Backspace, and okay. And there we go. So it looks like a different kind of spread here, but we're going to get a similar, directional flow of the line on the trend line. So there it is. It's increasing positive correlation. So I'm going to say, let's go to the options, and we're going to say, boom. Let's make that like a solid line and orange. I want to make it orange. So there we have it. Okay. So that's kind of interesting, because you can say, okay, well, as the RBIs go up, you could use that as a kind of indication in general, and say, well, then you would think that the batting averages would be going up in general as the RBIs go up. Although there are those examples of these outliers, of these random dots here, which are probably again due to the same issue that we talked about before. So there we have it. But remember that the slope of the line here, you've got a different looking slope, but just remember that it's not going to like go reverse. You might think that if I reverse the X and the Y, it's going to go from a positive slope to a negative. You're not going to get a negative correlation, because they're both going up together. So, okay. So now we're going to say, all right, let's just format this thing. I think we have everything we were going to do here. Let's do some formatting. Let's make this, select these, Control Shift down. I'm going to make this blue bordered. Home tab font group drop down. If you don't have that blue, it's right here. And the color wheel, you don't need to make it this blue. You can make it whatever blue, whatever. It doesn't have to be blue. You can do whatever you want, but that's what I do. That's what I do. Home tab, font group, border blue. And then we'll select these. Control Shift down, border blue. And then we'll select these. Picking that up, Control Shift down, border blue. Then I'll select these. Let's make this a header. We'll select this first. Border blue, and then make this a header of black and white. And then I'm going to make uniform skinnies. So the AO, I'm going to go to the left, holding down Control, and then select this skinny. Go to the left, holding down Control again. That skinny. I'm going to select that skinny, holding down Control, skinny, holding down Control, skinny, holding down Control, and then this skinny. And we'll make them uniform skinny. Fat cells can have a variance of fatness, but skinny cells, you have to be the same. Skinny, exactly the same skinny. All right, so then let's go review. I think I got the correlation correct. Oh my goodness, I got it right one time. I got it right last time. And then these names are gonna mess up my whole spell check. So I'll ignore, I'm just gonna stop. Maybe I won't even spell check it. If the spelling's wrong, then I apologize. And that'll be it.